All right, we're back with another episode of Darlington Adventures, working on this Blazer restoration. I've gotten the roof removed and the panels removed, canvas removed, everything taken out of the top of the camper essentially, and just kind of through what that looks like. So the lift panels were completely blown out. The rear one was actually hanging on by 6 inches of material. I'm kind of surprised it even would hold the roof up, but it was. So I got the roof down on a table. I got the panels removed. I got everything out of the inside. Front corners look better than I expected them to, but there's carpet, so it might be hiding what the interior looks like. But I got all the trim removed from the top. So you can see here, that's what those long pieces are. So I could get my measurements for the new canvas. Thankfully, the measurements are identical to my other Blazer. So just shows that they worked with some kind of a system back in the day in four-wheel campers. On the inside now, see kind of what shape everything's in. The hinges are totally locked up. The water damage caused the springs to rust, and probably the pin that goes through the center also, so that they just wouldn't move anymore, and that's what causes these type of lift panels to fail. In the rear, they definitely still are free. So I don't know why the panel would have failed. Just, it's 1/4 inch plywood. It probably gets dried out, rotted, whatever, over time, and it just starts to crack eventually. So, it's the downfall to this style system. But I've got pretty much everything ready to go. I just need to pull the wall panels, pull the piano hinges off, and rip the carpet out, and I'll know almost exactly what I'm working with. Well, so far that's in a lot better shape than expected. Insulation must do a pretty good job of being mold resistant, because this panel is completely warped from water damage, and it appears to be mold free behind there, which is cool. But since I got the wall open, it's going to get replaced with modern insulation, and looks to be in pretty good shape. Tiny bit of corrosion you can see from water damage, but that's minimal. That's really surprising. Quite happy about that. Sweet. All right, here we are. Almost completely gutted. Still got the side panels on. These are what mount to the bedsides of the Blazer. I think I'm just gonna wind up replacing both of them. This one is original. This one is not. It's got some water damage in the corner. This one's actually in surprisingly good shape, but I'm just gonna replace it because I'm gonna be in here. So I'm leaning towards just replacing the front wall and the cabover bed bottom also. All the trash is up there right now. Just because if I'm going this far, I would probably not be happy with myself if I didn't. So yeah, this is what a completely gutted 1985 four-wheel campers, 1982 four-wheel campers Blazer looks like. And that's it for now. One of the biggest pains in these projects is all the staples they used to hold the wall panels on and things like that. And the process to remove them is literally pliers and pry it out. Sometimes it's so hard you have to use a lever because they're really in there. These are pretty heavy gauge staples. This is how many I've removed in the last few minutes. It's pretty painstaking, but you know, gotta do what you gotta do. These are the fridge vents, which this one was original. It matches the Norcold fridge that came out of the camper. This one looks like it's also Norcold based on the logo, but it seems to have been added at a later date. It's riveted on because there's no backing or blocking behind to fasten it down. But I'm drilling out the rivets and replacing all of the butyl tape behind there because you can see what horrible shape it's in. So I guess I'll just keep these two vents because there's already a hole cut out for them. It's kind of too bad that they don't match, but I guess the fridge needs it. So there you go. Making some more progress here this morning. Almost completely down to aluminum frame and skin. I'm gonna have to rig something up here as soon as I remove these side pieces because that's what the whole thing is resting on right now. But before I can do that, I'm trying to remove the cabover bed floor, and unfortunately the easiest way to do that is to remove this backing, which is screwed in from the other side by the clamps, the latches that hold the roof down. And basically you only have a tiny bit of room right here to get this piece of wood out. The problem is you can remove all the screws from the other side, and there are staples where they stapled the siding skin through into this piece of wood, and it's inside of this channel that is the top of the frame of the camper. Let's see if I can show you where some staples are. The problem with the staples is they're all corroded and rusty and they break, and then they're stuck through the wood. So there's no way to get this out except to cut it out. So you gotta take a circular saw, set your depth just shallower than the outside skin, and slice all the way across, and then just pry it out with a screwdriver or something. And then you've got room to be able to lift up the bed floor to get it out of the way and to get the new one in, at least in one piece. You could certainly cut the old piece out, and that would be easy to remove it. You could also cut it out, remove the front wall, and then when you do that, the sides of the camper essentially have no structure, and you can flex the body out of the way enough that you could actually drop a one-piece bed floor back in. It's actually what I did last time I replaced one of these, because I was replacing the front wall at the same time, and I didn't want to mess with these. So in this instance, I'm just trying to keep the aluminum structure as safe as possible, not bend anything or crack any welds or anything like that. So I chose to cut out this backing, and then I will just replace that backing when I get the new bed floor and front wall in place. At this point, I was ready to remove the front wall and the cabover bed floor, and I wanted to reuse them as templates for tracing and cutting the new pieces of wood paneling that I will use to replace these ones, which is the reason why I didn't want to cut them out. It would have been really simple to just take my circular saw to the front wall in the bed area and chop the thing into pieces and drop it out, but I wanted to make sure I had an exact fit, and these ones fit very tight in the corners, especially the front radius corners. So I just wanted to make it easy on myself and use it as a template. It's the exact correct size. So that's what I did. I went ahead and disassembled everything as delicately as I could and pulled the front wall out in one piece and pulled the cabover bed out in one piece, and was able to use both the pieces as templates, and it worked perfectly. Unfortunately, the next phase is cleanup, which is going to be a bitch because the wonderful person who replaced the bed last used a ton of just like white silicone caulk, and it sticks really well in certain areas. So between that and getting out stripped screws and broken staple parts and sanding down all the aluminum to get rid of just the glue and tape residue and corrosion and stuff like that. Old foam strip. This used to be brown foam that four-wheel campers used to protect the canvas top when it was folded down. Also got a couple of broken welds, so this guy needs to be fixed up. I guess I'm gonna have to bring my other welder back up here. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Pretty crazy. I would imagine a lot of people at this point are thinking, why wouldn't you just build a whole new camper from scratch? But the idea with this one is to save the skin realistically, to keep it an actual, four-wheel camper. I don't know why that's so bright. See some of the color there. Yeah, the skin really is the most valuable part of this whole thing, the skin and the frame, but keeping the original graphics, keeping the original siding. I mean, this stuff is literally impossible to get. There's no stock of it. The only way to find it is to find another one of these vintage campers and rob it to, replace a piece if you had damage or something like that. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of the whole reason for doing all of this, but seems crazy, but this is not my first rodeo. This is in fact the third time I've had this generation four-wheel camper stripped all the way down to this point. That one was not quite as bad. It was still in pretty decent shape. I did have the front wall and the cabover area out of it, but I have not ever had the side pieces out of it. And I have not had the wall panels off of it. But I have gone this far with other ones before, so shouldn't be too big of a deal. Really the cleanup, getting the aluminum back in good shape is what's gonna be the most important, or the most time consuming part of this next step of this project. But that's okay, because I just found out from my canvas maker that we're looking at 2 to 3 months to get the new canvas made. So I have plenty of time. That's it for today's episode of Darlington Adventures. Thanks for following along. See you at the next one.